Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Independent. Prosecutors are prepared to hit Trump and his allies with new charges. Prosecutors could bring between 30 to 45 additional charges against the former president in the coming weeks, the Independent has learned. In what's known as a superseding indictment, they're just going to continually add more charges in addition to the possible charges for January, which would be very bizarre since they waited 2+ years, and the January committee found no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing of Trump. But the interesting thing is, they might actually try to change the venue, according to the Independent article. Here's why. The initial set of charges, the 30 documents that he allegedly didn't declassify, which he did declassify, according to President Trump, former President Trump, he declassified everything. They're going to have to prove, it's not the president of the United States that has to prove that he didn't declassify, okay? There's really no way to prove that a president didn't declassify something that he brought home. You had Bill Clinton with classified data next to his underwear, and the judge said, well, he was writing a book, it was on tape, so that was his property. And the information that he talked about could have been declassified prior to Bill Clinton owning or putting the information on tape. So there's precedent here. George W. Bush. I mean, you can look also, the National Archives stored 30 million pages, or 30 million pages of documents for President Obama outside a traditional National Archives facility. Anyway, there are there are precedents that are very bizarre that not only you could say, well, they might not exonerate Trump, so they might not be exactly what took place. They're not. But one precedent that completely exonerates Trump is Clinton's servers with top secret intel. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. I think likely, I can't imagine Hillary Clinton not being the 24 nominee. Hillary Trump 2024, what the country deserves and needs. But anyway, with the same outcome, I think that Trump has a very, very good chance, unless there's any democracy, the typical democracy. If the typical democracy doesn't take place, there's no way to defeat Trump. But anyway, I digress. They've already tried desperately, and hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel right now to read my writing on The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, and other publications. Go to hagoodman.com. They've tried desperately to get him on 30 documents that he could have declassified, that they would have to prove that he didn't declassify. It's not for Trump as a former president. There's no precedent for a former president, a former commander-in-chief, to prove that he declassified something. He could have done so verbally. Even if people in the room didn't see him do it, that still is not evidence that he committed a crime. Okay? Owning a server with top secret intelligence funneled onto that server. Let's say my legal analysis is completely off. Let's say there's this wonderful legal scholar or attorney who says, well, your legal analysis is completely off. You should never have had that classified data. Well, okay, but he was a president with the power to declassify. Okay, the precedent is that a high-level American official can have servers for 4 years. Madam Secretary had servers for 4 years. So I don't know what the 30 to 45 new indictments, the superseding indictment, new charges, the new additional charges, I don't know what they're going to add, but it's not classified data or top secret SAP intel siphoned illegally onto servers. The mere act of doing so, how Clinton's team was able to transfer classified data onto those servers, from a cybersecurity perspective, is completely impossible. It is completely and utterly impossible. Then, from a legal point of view, it is not only impossible to do so legally, it is illegal, and it is one of the greatest, most damaging, overt criminal activities linked to tremendous national security issues in the past, since what much worse than Watergate. Much worse than Watergate. In Watergate, you had a break-in, and then you had a cover-up by a president that funded the break-in and knew about it, possibly orchestrate, or it did orchestrate it. Okay, well, at least knew about the cover-up. Okay, a break-in into a building. It was a crime. Nothing Trump has ever done is a crime. You could say, well, he had classified data, but the precedent of classified data on servers without any indictment shows that there's unequal justice, and the standard of justice is completely different. Okay, Trump didn't have servers as a Secretary of State siphoning classified data. That's not even possible from a cybersecurity perspective. He had boxes. They know very well they can't get him. The Supreme Court will overturn any conviction. Also, they know in Florida, it'll be a mistrial or he'll be acquitted. They don't have anything on him. They have a New York indictment that will for sure be overturned by the Supreme Court because he didn't even get fined by the FEC. So they have to prove a federal crime. Where is the federal crime with the hush money payment? So there is no federal crime. If the rebuttal is, well, he committed a crime with the hush money payment, okay? So Clinton actually was fined by the Steele dossier and did not report it, and I believe her campaign is based in New York, but New York doesn't go after her. So again, this like completely unequal form of justice. But she actually was fined by the FEC. Trump was not. She was not a president with the power to declassify. Trump was, and he stated categorically he declassified everything. He doesn't have to prove to the Washington Post and New York Times that he declassified documents as a former president. Okay? And the National Archives said that it has 30 million, I believe, pages. If you can correct me if I'm wrong, from President Obama's time. How do you siphon through, or how do you go through 30 million documents to find out if anything is classified or not? What was the process the National Archives went through? How about that was an overt attempt at just hiding things, but whatever. Anyway, they're not getting anything with Trump during the first round of charges, okay? So they're going to add 30 to 40 more charges. They basically dropped any. They basically know that they can't get Trump on the 30 items that they claim are classified. And by the way, the audio was yet again another catastrophic failure for the entire American political establishment that's leveled everything against this man. And God bless Donald Trump. I mean, is there a man or woman on this planet who could survive this political, legal, overtly political, apoplectic onslaught? They are going to try to indict him 50,000 times, and his poll numbers will still go up. There's nothing to stop Trump. This is because you know what happens when you have almost half the electorate, let's say, composed of people who will disown friends and family because of politics, who will not invite people to weddings because of politics. You hear these stories lately also. They are so overtly political in, their concept of the rule of law. So when President Obama says nobody's above the rule of law, but everybody in his administration was. Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress. Okay? I think the only attorney general ever to be held in contempt of Congress. And then, like I said, Clinton had servers. I mean, could you imagine any other country allowing this? Servers. And then he said that he didn't know. So obviously, there's many other examples. And then Bill Clinton met with Attorney General Loretta Lynch and a tarmac. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like overtly, like some people are above the rule of law. But again, when you have half the electorate so ignorant regarding the criminal behavior of their political side, the Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court, will obviously see what's going on. Any conviction for any of these indictments will be overturned. None of these indictments are for actual specific crimes that Trump committed. We know this because up until Trump is indicted, nobody knows why they're indicting him. Everyone's like, well, what are they going to indict him for? We know why Hunter or Hillary would be indicted. And again, I think Hillary will be the 24 nominee. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.